This podcast is brought to you by iPlayHockey.ca. iPlay is the leading hockey insurance provider to coaches, camp instructors, spring and summer hockey leagues, and tournaments across Canada. If you need insurance for hockey, iPlay has you covered. iPlay also provides hockey players and coaches with a wide range of free tools, drills, and skills in their drill vault to enhance on-ice performance, and they provide crucial off-ice knowledge as well. So if you need insurance for a hockey team, league, or camp, or if you just want to teach your kids some new drills, head on over to iPlayHockey.ca and check out their new website.
How we doing, everybody? Welcome to episode 272 of the podcast. Cody Abrams and Melbourne with you. We've got NHL hockey back post-Olympic break, and we've also got the NHL trade deadline coming up in less than a week. Friday, March 6th is the big day. We are down to the final stretch in the 25-26 NHL regular season before the playoffs. Don't know where the time has gone, fellas. We're into the month of March now. Before we get into some players, some big names that are out there available in the rumor mill ahead of Friday's deadline, we have to go back a little bit. We have to go back to last Sunday. Canada comes home with a silver medal in men's hockey, losing to Team USA 2-1 in overtime in the gold medal game in Milano Cortina. Obviously, a crushing loss for us Canadians. For the Americans, it's their first gold medal win in men's hockey at the Olympics since 1980. The Miracle on Ice, of course, in Lake Placid. Super crushing. We obviously haven't talked about it, so why don't we start there before we get into the rest of this episode? Case, why don't you take it away on that?
Yeah, obviously very devastating. You hate to come out of a game like that with a loss. And looking back, I just imagine if it was a 7-game series, Canada takes that series 99 out of 100 times or 100 times. And unfortunately, it's not a 7-game series. It was 1 game takes all in the gold medal. And a big-time goalie can have a big-time effect on a game like that. And USA has been breeding big-time goalies. We haven't thought of Hellebuck in that way because he hasn't got the job done, but that narrative could be put to rest because he was lights out. And when you find yourself in a game where you're facing a goalie who is interplanetary at the moment, you need to capitalize on every chance you get, and Canada did not. They got paddled, Taves in the crease. They missed a wide open net. They hit some posts. You need to capitalize on the chances you get because they're going to be few and far in between. And unfortunately, they failed. And am I happy that the gold medal was decided 3-on-3? No, but we knew it was going to be that way going into it. So you need to be prepared for that, and you need to have a game plan. And Canada didn't look like they had a game plan in 3-on-3 overtime that game. It was a lot of attacking and not going the route of possession, which we have all had been drilled into our heads in the NHL, that possession is everything in the 3-on-3 overtime. Canada tried to take on 3 players at a time with the puck, quick turnovers and bad back checking. Here we are.
Yeah, and obviously, like, we've been avoiding this for a while, right? We didn't record on the night of, and you know, it's been a week now. I'm sure, just as I've been, guys, you guys have been talking to people at your work about this, and friends texting, and just, it's been a conversation for a whole week. And yeah, for me, it's just, I feel like I've said everything I've had to say. I just haven't said it on the podcast yet. So just to reiterate, Case, like, where you're coming from and what you've said, yeah, it was a lot of missed opportunities, a lot of chances that you thought could have gone in. Everyone knows that. Everyone's seen the screenshots of the McKinnon shot. Everyone's seen the overhead angles from the Hellebuck save on Taves in the crease. Talk about goaltending. Big save. Binnington was pretty good that game, I thought, and pretty good all tournament, but just not good enough to beat Hellebuck. And yeah, unfortunately, that's just the way the chips fell. It really felt like Canada was trying to press too much in overtime, especially Cooper going back to the McDavid line right after, almost double shifting them there. It just felt like God, guys, like we got 20 minutes here, 3-on-3. We don't have to win in the first 2 minutes of overtime here. It just felt like a bit unnecessary. But at the same time, if McDavid's not on the ice and you get scored on and lose the gold medal, we're all sitting here hammering John Cooper saying, why isn't
Yeah.
McDavid out there?
And to add to that, did the depth give you any sort of
No,
reason to think that they should be used in overtime?
no,
They
exactly.
weren't there that game.
Yeah. And so, Case, like, your guy is the one who gets it done. Jack Hughes from New Jersey with the winner. How did that make you feel? Obviously, some mixed emotions there on that one.
I'll say that if it has to happen, if someone has to score the gold medal goal against Canada, it might as well be Jack in my my world. But it has led to some prolonged pain for myself, because now every single time the Devils play in a US city, there's a whole 10-minute thing on Jack Hughes and the US gold medal game, and I have to sit there and watch it every single time I watch the game. So it's just like the salt in the wound is going to last months for Canadian Devils fans in particular.
Well, buddy, if you're anything like me, you won't be watching much hockey down the stretch because the team isn't doing too hot, at least in my case. So
I'll be watching a lot of hockey. It just might not be New Jersey.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be watching a lot. I can tell you that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Until they get past, because I get a friggin' text every time they touch the puck.
Until Buff gets bumped by Washington or Florida or someone like that, and they miss the playoffs for the 15th year in a row. That's what's
Can't wait for them to be conservative buyers at the deadline here and then get bounced 4 games, sweep first round.
Hey, all they got to do is make it there. Just make it, for God's sake. Looking pretty good. 3-0 since the
Chad,
return.
How the turntables here? Usually it's Chad ends up getting every conversation to Toronto, but we're talking about Team Canada losing the gold medal game, and now we're talking about Buffalo. So
yeah, and he's like, you know what? Sabres are looking pretty good. It's like,
yeah, well, Chad, you started it like, oh, I know why I won't be watching much down the stretch. Anyway, okay. Regardless of the result last Sunday, and it was a tough one. I mean, that was a heartbreaker. There's no other way to say it. I was at the Barley Mow in Brockville. The place is packed. I had my phone camera on video ready to go for like the last 15 minutes, ready to get a shot to post for us when Canada got the game winner. And just that scene, I was so looking forward to that. Obviously, that's not what happened, regardless of the result. And I know you guys will agree with me, and many others will as also. That was a hell of a hockey game. I mean, my goodness, like there was a lack of just like there were the flow to it. There was, no lack of that. Not many whistles throughout. Like, boy, that game flew by. Tough result. Connor Hellebuck has the game of his life. Like, that's what it took. Some real tough breaks that did not go Canada's way. I mean, 99 times out of 100, Nathan McKinnon puts that in the back of the net at the side of the cage there. A couple of breakaways that were missed. Celebrini, he's a young kid, you understand. McDavid's going to feel that one. He kind of just won too many moves on his breakaway earlier in the game. Devon Taves, my God. Hellebuck had the game of his life. We got goalied. I mean, that is what more is there to say, And
I've got
the Americans, again, it had been since 1980. They were obviously due in some way, and Canada will be back, boys. Like, what excites me is all the reinforcements that are coming. Like, you would have to think that as soon as 2028, the next World Cup, and then in 2030, the next Olympics, you would have to think Matthew Schaefer is going to be a part of it. Connor Bedard as well. Even a guy like Beckett Seneca, who is looking fantastic for the Anaheim Ducks in his first season. So I've been thinking a lot about that lately as well, because, and I'm sure you'll agree with me on this next thing quickly, is that all of the fallout, the political fallout, and everything that has followed this, and it's been exhausting to consume. It really has, and I'm sure you guys will agree with me on that. So tough result, tough to see it, but we'll be back, guys. And it's just the toughest thing is that we just have to wait some time. BetterHelp is the paid partner of this video. The new year is a blank space for you to write a new story. BetterHelp makes it more convenient to get you started. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy more comfortable and convenient. They carefully make sure therapists on the platform are well qualified, and their customer support team is there to help you if you have any questions. With over 7,000 reviews and a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform you can trust. Your next chapter starts today. Get 10% off your first month of BetterHelp online therapy at betterhelp.com/boysinthebooth in paid partnership with BetterHelp.
Yeah, well, that was the toughest thing, is thinking I'm going to have to hear about this for 4 years. But definitely do like the outcome or the outlook of the team of the future for Canada. But that was something that I really wanted to bring up. Don't typically like to be harping on the this is who they should have brought, this is who they should have brought for Team Canada, except the World Juniors. We've been doing that the last couple of years now, but I think that they've got to be sitting there and kicking themselves right now, because Matthew Schaefer has 2 less goals than the full Team Canada blue line combined.
This is unbelievable.
He's having quite the
20
year.
goals at the moment as an 18-year-old. The only one to ever do that.
Is that good?
Is that good? I'm pretty sure I just read that he was only the 6th teenage defenseman to ever do that as well. So just the list of accolades go on. And would it not have been nice to had one more dynamic puck-moving defenseman on that blue line?
Yeah.
Because it seemed like Cale Makar realized he's got to do it all, because it wasn't coming from anyone else on the back end. I respected Thomas Harley's game. I actually thought that Travis Sanheim in the last 2 games looked better than he's ever looked.
Agreed.
But there wasn't that second pairing. Theodore on the power play wasn't getting it done for me. They really needed a guy like Matthew Schaefer. And I think a lot of people are saying they probably would have liked to have a guy like Connor Bedard in that last game as well. But I'm not even going to look at that one. I think Matthew Schaefer was the big miss here, because Makar was trying to just carry the load himself, and it looked to have worn on him. And maybe we saw that in overtime, but they just needed a guy like Matthew Schaefer, 20 goals.
Yeah. And there were other names too, like Jacob Chikrin was a guy who could have been in conversation to make the team. Evan Bouchard could have made this team. Like, they just needed that additional layer, like you talked about. And they sort of had it in Josh Morrissey until he got hurt, right? Like, that was the role that he was supposed to play. And it's unfortunate because, Josh Morrissey, like, he's really important to his team, but you don't really think of him as like, one of the top premier puck moving defensemen but in the league. But he was going to play that role. Like, that's exactly what he was going to do for that team. So yeah, it was unfortunate to see him go down. Tough string of luck for him in terms of best on best play. But yeah, it's tough to say, like, you should have brought this guy or that guy, or should have started Logan Thompson, or should have, Wyatt Johnson is the guy who's probably going to make the next team. And that's another young player who's going to be good. Connor Bedard's going to be there. So yeah, the team's going to look very different next time around. But at the end of the day, like, they carried the play almost the entire game. They were the better team almost the entire game, and they just couldn't bury when they needed to the most. That was a combination of them missing their chances, but also Connor Hellebuck being really, really good. So yeah, I mean, it's a tough game. Like, you walk away from it thinking, that's heartbreaking. You obviously wanted them to win. But at the same time, like you said off the top, Case, if they play that game, 7 times in a 7-game series, like, Canada's taking it 4 out of 7 every time. and you'd like to think
one
that
more
anyway.
game, they're taking it.
Yeah.
So
like you don't walk away from it thinking like, oh boy, we're in trouble. You walk away thinking about it like, oh, okay, the state's got to bounce. They hadn't in 46 years. They probably deserved one, like it is what it is.
Yeah. I just wish it was to a team that had more good fans.
Yeah.
Just like sore winning bullying. It's something, but I think everyone knows that Canada pretty well dominated them in that game until they faced Hellebuck, of course. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. And yeah, we're gonna sit there and point out players you could or couldn't have taken, but yeah.
And I like what John Cooper said after in regards to the 3-on-3 overtime. There's a reason why Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals isn't decided with 3-on-3. I did like that.
Oh, see, I hated that. I thought that was such a not the time, Coop. Like you guys know,
a coach can say that.
Yeah, you guys know I was praising Coop the entire tournament, right? Like on this podcast and in our group chat. Like I just thought he had the pulse of this team. He knew what to say at all times. But when I saw that quote, it's like, buddy, not the time. Like everybody knew it was going to be 3-on-3. Your time to complain about it was at the start of the tournament, not when you lose because of 3-on-3. Like you won in the semis because of 3-on-3. So it's like you knew that those were the rules.
Well, fair enough, but he is hurting like everybody else, and he's not necessarily wrong. The timing might not be great, but again, he's hurting like everybody else after that loss. So I don't know. I don't mind it. And also,
it just sounds like an excuse to me. That's all.
I hold the coach to a higher standard, and like in terms of professionalism and I don't know, optics on that. To me, that looks
it's an excuse. That's what it is.
It's an excuse.
Yeah.
The media can say that all they want. The players can even say that if they want, but I don't think the coach should.
Agreed.
Well, fair enough. Fair enough. Maybe not his best moment. I don't know. I didn't have a problem with it, but hey, that's why we come on and we talk about little things like that. So, one more quick thing, Sidney Crosby being out for that game. I mean, that had to have a huge impact on that one as well.
Yeah, I mean, seeing Connor McDavid the first time he ever gets a medal at the Olympics and it's a silver and he's wearing the C, it's like if Sid's in the lineup wearing the C, like you got to think to yourself that that's a gold medal around all their necks. Tough luck for Connor. Like just can't, like we all despise Matthew Tkachuk. Right? Like, I think that's fair, especially Leafs fans, right? Like, we despise Matthew Tkachuk. But think about how much Connor McDavid despises that guy. Like, Matthew is a quarter of the player of what Connor is and just continuously beats him down at every opportunity, back-to-back Stanley Cup Finals, and then at the Olympics, too. Like, just when the moments are the biggest, Connor will still be the very best player on the ice no matter what, and he'll be 10 times the player that Matt Tkachuk is. But Matt and his brother Brady and the rest of this American team and all those Florida Panthers guys, like they just get the last laugh, and it's Tkachuk versus Connor, and it's just always Tkachuk on top. I hate it. It's brutal.
It is, yeah. Oh gosh. I mean, we could talk about this all episode, but we're not going to do that because it's over. I'm glad it's over because, like I said, all of the fallout afterwards, all the political stuff, all the content, the partying videos, all the interviews, everything, it's been exhausting to consume, honestly. So it's over with. I'm glad it is. We're back to focusing on NHL hockey, and we are focusing on big name players on trade boards ahead of Friday's deadline, March 6th, who are out there and available and who could be moved before Friday's 3 p.m. Eastern deadline. So, Chad, I know that you'll have one of the trade boards up there in a second, but no real structure to this, guys, we're just going to have a chat here about some guys who are available and who could be moved by Friday's 3 p.m. Eastern deadline. And certainly always an exciting time of year. And you see Elias Pettersson's name on there, Jordan Kyrou. And a guy that I wanted to start with is Robert Thomas of the St. Louis Blues, their star center, who is, only 27 years of age, 26 there, turning 27. Great cap hit. I mean, just over $8 million. He's got 5 years left. St. Louis seems to have everyone in play, including Thomas, their number one center, a very good player. It's been a disastrous year there for the Blues organization. Doug Armstrong certainly not afraid to make a big move. And thing that sticks out to me is that, here's a guy that is in the prime of his career in Thomas, premier position. These guys don't become available very often. And so I thought we would just start with that guy right there and Robert Thomas and kind of where you guys see him, where you see a fit for him and that sort of thing. So let's start there with the former London Knight.
Yeah, I mean, I have to start out and say that my prediction on Robert Thomas is that he does not get moved at the deadline. I think he'll get moved in the offseason, but if at all, first of all, I know that St. Louis is looking to sell everyone here, but you do need to have someone to build off of at the end of the day. And I don't know if they will ever get the right return for him. I think they're more likely to move a Jordan Kyrou, but it's starting to look feasible with Robert Thomas just based off how many teams have been linked to him at the end of the day. And a lot of teams in his division, which probably scare the hell out of St. Louis. You really don't want to trade him to Dallas, but that would be a player Dallas would covet for sure, especially if they have to move like a Robertson at some point, or Minnesota would be the perfect fit for Robert Thomas in that they badly need a center, a guy who belongs in the top six or on a top line at center would really work out for Minnesota. And it looks like they are all systems go this season. They're using their full arsenal. They brought in Quinn Hughes, and they're going to trade everything they can at the deadline to win a cup this year. And their GM's serious. He's got a taste for it now.
Oh yeah. You know what they call old Billy? He's got big cojones. That's a guy who can make a trade. Yeah, I mean, Case, in a similar sense here, I'm looking at a team who is also in need of sort of a middle or top six center, rather, whether you play him on the first line or the second line. There's a handful of teams in the league who are competing for playoff spots or who are comfortably in playoff spots who need to bolster their lineup up the middle and could really use a top six center. And I'm looking at the Montreal Canadiens. I think that would be a perfect fit for a guy like Robert Thomas. And I think a team like Montreal has the assets to do it too, because there's one thing we know about Doug Armstrong. It's that he sets his price. It's always pretty damn high, and he waits for a team to come and meet him at that price point. And he's probably not going to waver too much. I would expect for Robert Thomas, and I don't exactly know this, but I would expect it's probably going to be the equivalent of 2 first-round pick asset types. So whether it's a really good prospect, like an A prospect, and a first-round pick, like that might get it done. I'm not exactly sure, but that's what I would think. So we've seen Montreal do this in the past, going out and getting Noah Dobson for 2 firsts. Why not do the same for a guy like Robert Thomas? Maybe it's a prospect and a first-round pick. I could see it. They really need a second-line center. They've tried a bunch of different options there. They've got Laine, who never really turned into much in Montreal. He'll be gone next year. There's some money that frees up for you going forward, and you can fit in Robert Thomas. They tried Kirby Dach there. Unfortunately, he's a Band-Aid, and it just, at this point in his career, does not project to be a top 6 center anymore. He's probably more of a third-line player. Right now, they've got Kapanen playing down the middle. And it just, to me, like, this is a team who could really use a second-line center who fits their timeline. I think at 26 years old, a talented, without a doubt, in and around a point per game player every year. I think he would fit in with this team perfectly. And what do you guys think of Robert Thomas to Montreal?
I think the fit certainly makes sense. And they obviously have the assets for it. I would say that Oliver Kapanen has to be included in that trade. It's not quite you said first or first equivalent. He was drafted, I think, second round. So he's right there, but he's having a killer year. And I think he's got to be included. But I think it's going to be more than two first when you look at.
You think so?
Maybe compare this to a Timo Meier when he was traded. A guy with a decent cap situation and having not his best year when he got traded, but still a good year and kind of that pedigree that a team would want. Same as Robert Thomas. I mean, they got Moka Madulin, who was a first round pick. Okoychuk, who's kind of a throw-in, the same as Andreas Johnson. Fabian Zeiderlin, who ended up being very good for San Jose. A first, a second, and a seventh. So I would say it's a little more in that ballpark, if not more, for Robert Thomas. But that being said, I agree. Montreal has those assets and can do it. They have every draft pick except their fifth or something like that. So I think they fully have the assets. They have a deep prospect pool. They could get this done for sure. But I think it's going to be more than just two first.
I think if you're Doug Armstrong, you're looking for like a Jack Eichel type return for Robert Thomas. Now, maybe you guys feel, myself included, maybe we feel that that's a little bit too much. But if I'm him, I'm looking for that kind of return. 3 to 4 pieces that are all equivalent to first round picks. And so, like, going to that Jack Eichel trade, it was Tuck and Krebs, who were both first rounders. It's a first round pick and then a second. I think if you're Armstrong and the Blues, that's the kind of return you're looking for Robert Thomas, in my opinion. Prime of his career, great contract, center. Anyway,
a guy who can still get better. I mean, he's only 26 years old on a great contract. And coming off back-to-back 80-plus point seasons, yes, he's having a down year, but it's more of a what could he do on a good team situation. And I think, if he had 82 games on Montreal, he'd be back in that 80-plus point range, no problem. And I don't know, he could find himself closer to 100 points playing with Cole Caulfield and a Slavkovsky or Demidov at some point. So I think there's still upside on Robert Thomas on a good contract. So that's kind of why I don't think he's going to get traded.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I mean, think about last year. There was so much talk about Braden Shen getting traded, right? And apparently the price was like 2 firsts, or it might have even been, it was like a first plus, right? No team was going to pay that for him at the time. And they just held out, right? It was Doug Armstrong sets his price, and if nobody meets it, he's content to just hang on and try it again next year. So, yeah, I mean, this team, St. Louis, by the way, like, I don't think they're trying to tear it down to the studs either. Like, they've kind of retooled over the past few years. They have a lot of guys in that similar window, like mid-20s. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, might just be content to hang on to him if the price doesn't work out. But I could see a team like Montreal, like I said, just forking up the assets because they desperately need a centerman to play in their top 6, and they've already done it before. Like, they're not afraid to go out and get a guy. Noah Dobson is the one who comes to mind.
I could see the Carolina Hurricanes doing it as well. We all know, rather, that they are not afraid to go after star players. And so I think just for the pure theatrics of it, if you will, it'd be pretty cool to see Carolina pull this off and have Thomas be a great fit there with their club, because they tried it with Rantanen last year and it just didn't work out. It's like, okay, they get a second chance, and whether it's Thomas or Pettersson, whoever, I think they very much have the appetite to try it again with another star player and see if it works out.
This podcast is sponsored by SeatGeek, the absolute best ticket app out there. SeatGeek takes the confusion out of buying tickets, making it quick and easy to get the best deals to tickets at your favorite sporting event. SeatGeek does this awesome thing where they score each ticket out of 10 based on its value, so you know whether you're getting a good or a bad deal. Last time I got tickets to see the Devils play, I first saw red tickets. I waited it out, monitored the price in-app, and once I saw green, I pulled the trigger. SeatGeek makes it that easy. And here's the best part. SeatGeek has completely hooked us up. Boys in the Booth listeners get $20 off their first purchase on SeatGeek with the promo code BOYSINTHEBOOTH in all caps. Click the link in our description to download the app, and remember to get your discounted tickets using the code BOYSINTHEBOOTH in all caps. Get great seats for a fraction of the cost with SeatGeek.
Well, we all know that Carolina will get the third best player available, so it's not going to be Robert Thomas. But that's the type of guy they have to go out and get.
Yeah,
we say that every year.
Yeah,
exactly.
You know who else Robert Thomas had in his as a groomsman was Brady Tkachuk. And
oh boy,
what does the Ottawa Senators need except everything? So a top six forward, a center with term on a team that's buying for the long term could make a lot of sense as well.
It could. Okay,
Very
Case,
good.
was there anyone in particular you wanted to bring up here on the trade board?
I think we might as well stay in the same vein, and I'm going to stick with Montreal going out and getting a guy like Jared McCann. I know we talked about him pretty quickly, and yes, Seattle is currently in a playoff spot. I don't know if they'll stick around too long when LA is kind of put out there that they are a very clear buyer and looking to make the playoffs, especially after making the splash on Panarin. But I think McCann, we've heard the talks about him being traded. He is, I believe, expiring. We've heard the trade talk since November, October, and I think that he would get such a return for Seattle as a rental, and that's kind of what they need. Seattle did kind of say that they're in a buyer situation, but they're also trying to get rid of a Jared McCann. So I don't know, maybe they're more of a fit for a New Jersey Devils or someone like that who would like to trade maybe Dougie Hamilton for a guy like Jared McCann. But I'm going to be keeping an eye on for him. I also have him in fantasy, and he's a pretty late keeper for me. So I would like him to get traded to a good team.
Yeah, fair. I mean, like McCann, I guess it does make sense. We were talking about this before we started. It makes sense from the angle that they've been trying to trade him for a while. I don't know if he's unhappy in the market or if they just think like this is their best opportunity to get more assets because they don't believe in their team as is right now and think that they'll be better a couple years into the future. Maybe that's the case. Sell now to be better later. But I bring up the standings right now just to show like they are in a playoff spot and they're 3 points up on San Jose, Nashville, LA. And you look at that Western Conference and it's like, it's just not very good. So I don't know. I just wonder if Seattle right now is kind of a little bit too good and too comfortable where they are to sell their best player. Like, I just feel like if you have a
also
chance
looking to sell Shane Wright though.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But like, I just think if you're Seattle, you might have to rethink about this because if you're good enough to make the playoffs, like, you know, I'm not saying that they're going to do any damage in the playoffs, but what's the difference? Like if you get in and maybe you go on a little bit of a run and you get some playoff revenue, right? Like anything can happen versus finishing, you know, 18th in the conference and getting a mid-round pick anyways. Like it just feels like if you're Seattle, you shouldn't be giving up on the season. You should be kind of going for it. No, instead of buying major pieces, maybe you just kind of hang tight and stand pat and don't sell anyone off. That's why I'm just kind of hesitant to agree that I think McCann rather is going to be on the move.
Yeah, I never said they're giving up on their season, but you trade Jared McCann and you bring in players that are ready now, or you bring in multiple players that fill multiple needs that Seattle has because Seattle has a laundry list of needs. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. And if it's a hockey trade like that to get better in other areas, then maybe it makes more sense for the kind of the vision here. Maybe I'm just
What
not
if the
looking at it like
return
that.
was Dawson Mercer and Dougie Hamilton for a Jared McCann?
Yeah. So what I'm hearing
Plus,
is you just want Jared McCann. You want Leafs legend
I just
Jared
know
McCann.
that the Devils are looking to trade for the future. They're not looking to, like, they know they're not winning this season, but they need guys for the next years to come. And Dougie Hamilton has been talked about being traded constantly. So I don't even think that Jared McCann would be the right guy necessarily. I would like Robert Thomas more than that, but for the Devils, I don't know. I'm just spitting things out there.
Yeah. And like we said off the top, like he's a guy who's been talked about for years now. So it wouldn't be shocking to see him go. I'm just trying to understand like what would make most sense for Seattle given their current playoff position.
Well, I don't know what makes sense for them, but what I've heard is they want to trade Jared McCann and Shane Wright. So it doesn't sound like a playoff team to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, God, Seattle's weird to me. Like they're a middling team at best. Okay, you get in, great, but you don't expect them to go very far. And I think a couple of years ago when they got in and made it to the second round after beating out Colorado in round one, that might have been the worst thing for them because they've tried to spend money, they've tried to, kind of speed this up on the fly, and they still don't have that one star dynamic player up front that can lead them, and that's what they need. They need to go out and get a scorer, and they made a huge run at Panarin before he chose the LA Kings, but obviously didn't want to go there, didn't work out, so they're willing to do things that way. I don't know. I don't know what to make of them and their direction. I really don't. And I don't see McCann getting moved. Like to me, I see them trying to stay in the playoff hunt. Like we've heard Jordan Kyrie's name attached to the Kraken before. They need a scorer. They need a dynamic player up front for a guy like McCann to play with. And, if you want to move on from someone like Shane Wright to get another young player who was a high pick and kind of do a swap like that, that makes sense to me. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting though to float out there for
they're
sure.
slated to face Colorado right now in the first round if the playoffs started today. So you're telling me there's a chance that they go to the second round again this year.
Oh gosh.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
That'd be insane.
Yeah.
But okay, so Case, we talked around this player, but I might as well bring him up because we've been talking about him for a couple weeks now. Dougie Hamilton in New Jersey. Like, I think that's a player who could be on the move. I don't think his price is going to be that high given his contract. Like, talk to me about some places where you think he fits because, we kind of disagree. I think he could be a fit in Toronto. And by the way, I've floated that to a lot of my Leaf fan buddies and a lot of them hate it, but I think it makes a ton of sense. Talk to me about Dougie Hamilton. Where do you think he's going to go?
Well, Chad, Toronto's not in a playoff spot, so why would they go for a guy?
Yeah,
like
you
Hamilton?
are sellers. So let's drop that right now. All right.
Let me tell you then. Let me explain why. Let me make my brief case. Yes, the Leafs are sellers this year. They're soft sellers. The reason they're soft sellers is because they have Austin Matthews and William Nylander under contract. And while they still have those guys under contract, they're not going to bottom out. They're just not, on purpose anyways. They might this year because they're pretty bad, but they're not going to do it on purpose next year heading into the season. They're going to try to be good again next year. So they're going to move out some bad money at the deadline if Brad picks up the phone for once and makes a deal. But you can't just get rid of guys. You got to get guys too to be better for next year. Why not take on a depressed asset like Dougie Hamilton, whose contract, by the way, you can take on because you finally have some money, especially after you dump some bad money at the deadline, if you're able to do that. Talking about guys like, Matthias Michelli can go, Max Domi can go. Maybe you get a deal for OEL. Maybe you move Lawton or Nick Waugh. Like, you could easily free up another 10 million in addition to the 6+ that they have now, in addition to putting Chris Tanev on LTIR because he's not going to return this year. So you can make the money work. The money is not an issue in Toronto anymore. And that's the first time I've been able to say that in a decade watching the Leafs. But I just think it makes so much sense to take a bit of a bet, a gamble on a guy who fits the needs of what Toronto actually needs going forward. And if it doesn't hit, you know what? So be it. At least you took a chance. But you can't go into next year with the exact same blue line that you have this year that has been horrible all season long. Like, I just think you've got to buy low on a guy if you have the opportunity. And just because you're selling this year doesn't mean you can't also go out and get guys who are going to help you next year, because the season's done this year. So might as well start preparing for next year. Treat it as if it's the off season.
I see what you're saying. The Leafs, to me, need to do what the Boston Bruins did at the deadline last year. And so picking up a guy like Hamilton kind of reminds me a little bit of like the Charlie Coyle trade that the Bruins made with Colorado. You get a guy like Casey Middlestad back whose value is a little low, still at a good age, who you can, give a fresh start to, and it may or may not work out. And then you get some Fraser Minton-esque young players into the organization. That would certainly help. And then you go at it next year and look at the Bruins. They did that. They got a high pick, James Hagens, welcome. And then here they are, and they're in a wild card spot. They're in a playoff spot and have played pretty well this year under Marco Sturm. So you can definitely do that if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs. So Chad, I apologize. I jumped all over you a little bit there for first bringing it up, but now I can see the rationale, and the Boston Bruins deadline last year certainly helps with that. Case, do you have anything to add here?
No, I was just poking at Chad. I completely agree. And the Devils are in the same situation. They're trading for next year. So I just wanted to point out that just because you fit in a box doesn't mean you have to live in that box. But at the end of the day, I just don't think that Toronto has what New Jersey wants. I don't know if that's the fit. Maybe Hamilton is the fit, like what Toronto wants, but it's got to be going both ways here. And I just
totally
don't see that at the moment.
Can I interest you in a Bobby McMahon with a 4x4 extension? Bobby McMahon, 4x4 extension in place? 25 goal scorer, playing your top six, fastest guy in the league.
No, I'm okay. Thanks.
I don't know. Could be pretty good.
Dougie Hamilton, just before we move on from him, can I interest you, Case, if, because you're a Devils guy and if you're Tom Fitzgerald, a team that you've made deals with in the past, a team that's been connected to Hamilton, a team that needs to start building up their blue line, the San Jose Sharks. They definitely would have what the Devils would want for Dougie Hamilton. Now, he's got to agree to waive to go there, but with the way their season has gone in a playoff chase here, that makes a ton of sense to me. A lot more sense than the Maple Leafs. Sorry, Chad.
Yeah, I would say that they are, in my opinion, the second best fit out there. They have the assets that can come back this way. There's a trade relationship there. They have all the cap room available for him. They need a right-hand defenseman like him. So I think that makes a ton of sense. New Jersey would be fine shipping him out to the West. The big thing there is they already tried to trade for him and he blocked it in the summer. So we'll have to see if he would be willing to go there now. But seems unlikely in that way. The real fit where I see Dougie Hamilton is the Detroit Red Wings, who kind of always seem to need guys on the back end for some reason. But I think that he would fit there really well. They have $12.5 million in cap space at the moment. They have a deep prospect pool, as well as I don't think they necessarily have the ready now players that the Devils would want to bring on, but maybe a Marco Casper or someone like that. If the Devils could swing a big trade here, ship either a Dawson Mercer or a Cody Glass or any of these kind of attractive rentals along with Hamilton, get a Marco Casper or something like that, then maybe this trade could happen for sure. But
Right.
I think at the end of the day, Hamilton has to be moved. The Devils have seven very good NHL defensemen, and someone's going to be in the press box at all times if they don't move them, and they need the cap space. So get $9 million out of here would make a ton of sense. I think that San Jose would love a guy like Hamilton and would be jumping at this. Detroit, Utah, they've all been brought up. I love a trade where Schmaltz came from Utah to New Jersey and involved in a Hamilton trade. It would have to be a hockey trade. There'd have to be more going to Utah. I know this. I'm not sitting here saying Hamilton is going to get the biggest return in the world, but there's a lot of options out there for Hamilton. I think that
you said it'd be a 1-for-1.
Yeah, no, I did not. Not the same player at all as a Mackenzie Weegar. Weegar is one of the best defenders in the entire NHL, and Hamilton is not. But I feel like some team who doesn't get the Weegar they want will get the Hamilton they get.
Makes sense. Do we want to talk about Weegar case? Is that a guy you had on your radar?
That's a good segue, because
a guy who's going to be moving here?
Yeah, for sure. Just because Calgary, I mean, they're going to be trading everyone, is kind of the writing on the wall here, and rightfully so. And there's a ton of teams that are in the hunt for a big name defenseman like that. I keep bringing up the Dallas Stars. They'd have to make some cap moves for this to happen, but I think that Weegar would look very good in Dallas. That back end is kind of one piece away from being an NHL super or a Stanley Cup superpower here. So I think that fit would make sense, but talk about value in a guy like Weegar. Just a great cap hit, lots of contract left, good defender. I think he's near the top in blocks and hits, contributes offensively. It's like, might be the most valuable guy out there in terms of just pure value. So,
yeah. And I wonder if you package him with a guy like Jonathan Huberdeau, if you could get a Matthew Tkachuk out of Florida, like that would be, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. You couldn't. You couldn't. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I was wondering if you guys are going to pick up on that. But no, Weegar, obviously, like they want to get rid of him. Calgary's at a point now where they're just trying to get the highest pick they can. And sounds like Kadri's going to be going out too. And who knows where he goes. I actually think sneakily Kadri could be a good fit in Montreal too. I brought up Montreal for Robert Thomas, but I mean, Kadri's dad was a Habs fan growing up, and Nas talks about that in his book, and they need a second line center in Montreal, so I think he could fit there. But Weegar, yeah, I mean, some team's going to be really happy getting him at the deadline because, like you said, Case, like he's cost controlled. He's got a ton of term left. He's in year 3 of 8. He's 32, so you know he's kind of in his prime in terms of a two-way defenseman here. Like he's going to make a team really happy, whoever gets him at the deadline. I could see Dallas making a lot of sense. A few other teams around the league could make some sense too. I feel like in the West, like if you're remotely good, I feel like if you add this piece, it just makes you so much better. And yeah, like this is a guy who just makes, he could play on your second pair. He can anchor a top pair if you need him to. Like he can step up in big situations. Like he can do it. He can do it all, really.
Right-handed, which is just a premium in the NHL. But
yeah.
I keep talking about the same teams over and over again here, but Detroit, again, wants a defender. Weegar would be perfect for them. Just all situations. Help out that top pair. Maybe play him with an Axel Sandin-Pellikka. Wouldn't that be a partnership? So I could
the Oilers ever get their hands on him
as well? Yeah,
like, would the Oilers ever?
You would love that. That would be ideal.
I don't know how.
I don't know if they do the Battle of Alberta trade, but
yeah, or if they have the assets. That's the big thing for me.
No, that couldn't happen. I'm sorry. But love again, for just pure theater, be great. But I can't see Edmonton being able to make it work. You mentioned Uyghur, and the team that has been reported out there as the team that's been trying to acquire this guy for years. It's the Ottawa Senators. And Mackenzie Weegar, I think, would be a perfect fit. He's an Ottawa guy, former Nepean Raider, and they've got a pretty good defensive prospect in Carter Yakimchuk that's a Calgary guy. There could be a fit there. Ottawa is obviously outside of a playoff spot right now, but they've got everybody locked up long term, and they're not too far out of it. They could certainly go for it. And looking at that right side, they could use another guy there. Nick Jensen has had a bit of a tough season. He's been in and out of the lineup, banged up. He's not getting any younger. And then Jordan Spence as well has kind of had a weird year there. They gave up a second-round pick for him in the offseason around the time of the draft. He's been a healthy scratch for a bunch of games. They could use some real help there. Again, I mean, how many times have we talked about the Ottawa Senators needing a top 4 right shot D to play with Thomas Chabot? It's been quite a bit. And all the reports out there have been that they have been trying to acquire Mackenzie Weegar for a few years now, around past drafts and that. And now they don't really have a deep prospect pool. So would you want to give a guy up like Carter Yakimchuk? But I just think with all the connections there, because you guys know I love that angle, it could make a ton of sense. And that could be a real fit for both clubs. If I'm Craig Conroy and the Calgary Flames, because again, we have to point out, they do not have to move Mackenzie Weegar. Like, they only will do it if they get their socks knocked off with a proposal. And like, that's the first guy I'm asking about from Ottawa is Yakimchuk, former Calgary hitman. Like that'd be it for me. So I wanted to bring that up because I think Weegar would look great in Ottawa, and I think Yakimchuk in back to Calgary in a potential deal would be perfect as well.
We interrupt this podcast to tell you about one of our favorite partners, Sign Up Expert. If you're a sports bettor, whether brand new, casual, or hardcore, listen very carefully because this ad is for you. Guys, line shopping for the best odds matters, and that's why any profitable sports bettor needs to be using multiple sports books to maximize their profits. Thankfully, there has never been a better time to get signed up, and we are here to connect you with the best promotions industry-wide. When you use our link at signupexpert.com/boysinthebooth, you can get access to all of the top sports books in your region, along with a review of each platform and its unique benefits. Most importantly, all of these sportsbooks have valuable sign-up offers for new users. And when you register through our link, you will automatically receive the top offer at each one, allowing you to start line shopping with an enhanced bankroll. Guys, it's simple. When you use multiple sportsbooks, you ensure that you can always access the best available odds, which is key to successful and profitable sports betting. So, if you want to take advantage of these incredible benefits and support our brand at the same time, please consider signing up for your next sportsbook through our link in the description below, signupexpert.com/boysinthebooth. If you're planning on signing up for a new sportsbook anyways, you might as well use our link and support the boys. So, one more time, that's signupexpert.com/boysinthebooth.
Yeah, I talked about Ottawa's all sorts of needs. Well, their biggest need is that right-hand defenseman. So Uyghur would make a ton of sense. It's also, they're not going all out for this season, Ottawa. They will be buying at the deadline, but this is a move that's going to help them for years to come. And they have, lots of pieces that are going to help them for years to come. So in terms of fit, it certainly makes sense. We'll see if they could pony up and ship out enough assets to bring him in for sure. But I think I like that pick. I do have another team that I could certainly see Uyghur going to as well that we have not brought up in any shape or form yet this episode, but another team that's not only buying for now and more so buying for the future is the Anaheim Ducks. who could really use some help on the back end. And in terms of a guy like Uyghur, they have sort of the veteran presence on the back end. They have the young puck movers in Lacombe and Zellweger, but I think a
Minchikov.
Uyghur would. Well, I think Minchikov would be going the other way in this trade.
I agree.
He's already talked about how he's unhappy in Anaheim, and he's been floated out there in trades before. So that would be part of the piece that goes back to Calgary. They also have all of their picks next year, all of their first for the next 4 years, and 3 seconds next year. So in terms of draft picks, they just have the cupboard stock. They have a great prospect pool. They have a strong team now full of young players. I think in terms of a guy who has term and a ton of value and has the power to change a team, I think the Anaheim Ducks that would be a perfect fit.
Makes a lot of sense. It's interesting talking about the Ducks as buyers. Like, I feel like we haven't in a while, so now that they're
Ducks,
trending
Wings,
towards
and Sabres, the 3 teams with the longest active playoff droughts, all looking like buyers this year.
That is true.
And by the way, too, Chad, and I apologize to cut you off, but the head coach in Anaheim knows Uyghur very well. Also, have to point that out too.
That is true. Yeah, it could make sense. Case and Minchikov, you're right, is a guy who could be going the other way. Another buy low candidate, I think. Not to bring it back to the Leafs, that's a guy you got to check in on. Like, you got to, if you're a team who is underperforming this year and you lack skill in a certain position, whether it's on the back end or somewhere else, you got to do your due diligence, check in, try to buy low on some of these guys. And Minchikov, I think, is a guy who might not want to re-sign in Anaheim, right? He's an RFA. His deal's expiring this year, so who knows what happens next for him, but could definitely be on the move too as a piece to acquire a more ready now player, I think, for Anaheim.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Guys, what do we think? Got time for one more name here? 1 or 2?
Yeah, I was thinking, why don't I just put the trade board up and we talk about a few names, maybe 5 more names, and you just tell me either a team or he's staying. What about that? Do you guys like that?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, let's do it. So
Sure.
I'll put up Kipper's trade board. This was updated most recently a few days ago. Elias Pettersson is number 1 on the trade board. What a fall from grace for this guy. Needs a change of scenery. Do you think he's staying or going? And if he's going, where do you think? Case to you.
He should be going Detroit Red Wings or Pittsburgh Penguins.
Oh, Pittsburgh.
Oh, Pittsburgh. Okay. I thought you were going to say Carolina with Detroit there.
Harp, where do you think?
I think he stays. I think it is a deal that we could see that gets done around draft time. Just, I think, too complicated to do at the deadline. This has draft written all over it for me, and he desperately needs a change of scenery. I agree with what others have said out there that, this former 102-point player could get back to that output elsewhere, just not in Vancouver. So, but I see this happening at the draft with Pettersson. So he stays.
Personally, I think he probably stays too, but I think a perfect fit for him could be Carolina, where he's more insulated with a system and he's not relied on to do everything himself offensively. And he can kind of get lost in the system. He can put up, 70 to 80 points and just find a comfortable home for the rest of that contract at 11-6. I doubt Vancouver wants to eat any of that, but I don't know. I could see him working in Carolina. I think that would make a lot of sense.
That would be a long time to retain. So, and it doesn't sound like they're too interested in doing that, and I don't blame them.
You can't eat that contract. You can't eat any of that. So that's where that gets tough. I think Carolina probably does have the cap available if there's someone else going back. And that's why I brought up Pittsburgh as well, is because not only do I see him as a Dubas player, but they also have that cap, and same as Detroit. So
Yeah.
all of those are very feasible.
You know what? I do like, actually, Case, I'm coming around to the Penguins idea. We know that Dubas loves the reclamation projects. Like, and how many times have we seen him do that? Like, look at the way Chinnikov has played for them after he brought him in. Even young guys and even some older veteran players. Like, look at the year that Anthony Mantha has had. So, yeah, you know what? That Pittsburgh, that's a pretty good one, actually. I'd buy that.
I could see it. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Like Gino and Sid aren't going to be around forever. You know, you've got to start thinking about what the future looks like. I thought about Carolina, but then as I even kind of talked about it, I'm like, God, like, do they need more of that? Like, do they need more of a, kind of soft scoring center? Like, I don't know.
How would that work with Brindamore too? I don't know. Or maybe he just needs to get out of Vancouver. Like that could very well be true because they're a dumpster fire. So
yeah. Okay. A couple more. Jordan Kyrou staying, going, and if he's going, where do you think? Case to you.
I think he's staying because they're not going to get the value that they think they can out of him after scratching him in this season and it not being a great season. So I think he sticks around. If he gets traded, it's more like mid-summer, after the draft, after free agent frenzy. What team feels like they missed out on all the big fish, goes out and pays too much for Kyrou.
I think Kyrou goes at the deadline. I think that's a situation that needs to come to an end. He's sort of been a lightning rod in St. Louis. His name has been out there for a while, even more so than Robert Thomas, a guy who I think ends up staying. But I think Kyrou ends up going to a team like the Seattle Kraken, a team like the New York Islanders, who are looking to buy for now and for the future, obviously. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking with Jordan Kyrou. I think he goes.
Columbus Blue Jackets. That feels like a Jordan Kyrou fit to me.
Could see that.
That's a good one
too. I think he stays. I don't think they get the price that they set, and he probably stays. Okay, one more blue, and let's just do rapid fire. Like just one either a team or he's staying. That's all. Okay. That's all we need. All right, one more blue. And it's the guy who played in the Olympics for Team Canada, Jordan Binnington. Is his stock up or down? What do you think? Where's he going? Staying or going? If he is going, where?
Should stay or should go. I mean, Minnesota, Edmonton.
Edmonton would be crazy.
Yes, it would be. I'll say going. Oilers, Canadians.
Yeah, I'll say going Habs. I think that would be a perfect fit. Couple more, then let's wrap up here.
Sure.
Vinny Trocheck, staying, going. If he is going, where?
Colorado Avalanche. Nazem Kadri trade 2.0. His value right now, face-offs in the Olympics, was just a never-ending topic, and he proved his worth there. Two-way guy, contributes. Colorado, just screams Colorado Avalanche.
Going Pittsburgh Penguins, Pennsylvania guy. Again, it would be interesting to see what Pittsburgh would be able to give up for him, or would be willing to give up for them, for Vinny Trocheck. Pardon me, I can't talk this evening, but I think it'd be a great move because he's from that area. It would be a great move to reward the guys for the season that they've had. Just a great veteran to bring into the mix, and all of a sudden, Pittsburgh is loaded with picks thanks to Kyle Dubas. So, yeah, Trocheck going Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yep, must be nice to have a GM who knows how to manage assets and get picks back. Yeah, I'll say Trocheck. goes, and Harp, I'm with you. He's been linked to Pittsburgh. I think that would be a great fit. But Case, I hear you too. Like Nazem Kadri 2.0 to
Yeah.
Colorado, I could totally see that. He would fit in perfectly with that team. Although Nate McKinnon might not look him in the eye, seeing as how he was an American. So, okay, two more package deal, but sort of you got to do them separately. Do you think Bobby McMahon stays or goes, and where? And also OEL, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, stays or goes, and where?
You'd be stupid to keep either of those guys when you could get just so much value as rentals at this deadline. I don't know where either of them go, frankly, but they're going.
Yeah.
Fair.
I agree. I think both are going. We've heard OEL's name being tied to the Edmonton Oilers. I don't really know why they would do that. I don't know what they'd really have to give up for a guy like OEL. And again, he's a left shot, and they have a ton of left shots. So
Plays both
I don't
sides,
know.
though.
Yeah, he can play both sides. That is true. So yeah, OEL going, just don't know where. Bobby McMahon is interesting, definitely going. And I've got an interesting team here that's, and this idea has been floated around out there, a team that's looking to add. And again, this would be a pure rental situation, but how about the Buffalo Sabres for Bobby McMahon?
Sure.
Add some scoring depth. Could play in a third line sort of checking role. I think is ideally where you could put a guy like that. I worry about guys like Jack Quinn, for example, just in the playoffs where a lot of it's just wall battles and really hard play. I think a guy that's a little bit bigger and, a little bit grittier, and McMahon, who can also score in that spot, would be a bit better. So why not? McMahon to the Buffalo Sabres.
I could see it, and Leafs could retain that, and all of a sudden he's making less than league min, and that's a very valuable guy to have on your team for less than league min. I think both go. They both have to go. Case, like you mentioned, you'd be stupid not to, but we've seen some interesting moves or lack thereof from this management group, so we will see. But I think McMahon goes 1-for-1 for Dougie Hamilton, and I think OEL goes for Ike Howard out of Edmonton. And maybe they have to add a pick as well. But I think that can make a lot of sense. And that's it. I think we wrap there. What do you guys think?
Yeah, neither of those are going to happen, but good try.
I don't think either of those are going to happen either. I mean, that is the most Tom Fitzgerald thing ever. Be like, yeah, we need a top 6 forward. We need a top 6 forward. I got one for you, Bobby McMahon. It's like, oh.
Yeah. And he makes league min, but he has an extension 4x4. There you go.
I don't know if OEL gets Ike Howard and a pick, but
I think OEL gets a first and a prospect if he goes. I think teams are going to be clamoring for him. Like, guy who can play both sides. He's the Leafs' best defenseman. He's going to get like 55 points. He snaps a breakout pass. He's dirty. He's gritty. He still plays like he's a Florida Panther. Like, he's Brandon Carlo, but better. And Carlo, yes, it was an overpay last year for a first in Minton, but I think that's what he gets this year. I mean, depending what the market looks like, but I could see a good prospect like Ike Howard and a second-round pick. And there you go. Take OEL. And he's cost-controlled, too. 3.5, yes. 2 more years.
He is. Case, you'll like this suggestion. I mean, the Detroit Red Wings have to be in on a guy like OEL. Put him next to Sandin Pellikka. Yeah. Like you've mentioned with some of the other D. An old Swede and a young Swede paired together.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great.
Yeah, I think that's probably the backup plan for Detroit is OEL. Not that I don't see value in OEL. I just think that they want the big fish defenseman. But yeah, OEL is going to get a lot. We've talked about it so many times. Defensemen at the deadline just get way too much in return, and
yeah.
We've also proved the point that you might as well trade anything that's not a first or second round pick.
Yeah, it's true. And OEL, Olympian. It's got to mean something.
I mean, yeah, barely.
Him and Pontus Holmberg, Olympians forever.
God.
I said barely
Sweden will
because he played
definitely
13 minutes.
have a different coach at the next Olympics.
Yes. Yes, to
By
both
the
of those
sounds of
points.
it. Anything else, guys? Any other notes? Chad, any other players you want to bring up quickly? No?
There's tons of guys, but like we don't have to
For
get into
sure.
everybody. Like,
That's right.
yeah. Okay.
Maybe next year we'll do our own trade board. I could do it. I could put it up on our website. What do you think of that
If you
idea?
spearhead that, you can absolutely do it, but I will not be putting in the time and effort to put
Just
together a
voluntold
board.
yourself. Harp.
It's all yours, bud. Oh, great.
You
What have
can
I
have
done? All right. Okay, good stuff, fellas. Good to jump back on. And obviously, a bit of a tough start there. I had to recap the gold medal game, Canada and the U.S., but we got that out of the way. We did it. We can say we have. And talk some deadline stuff as well. Friday, March 6th, 3 p.m. Eastern is the deadline. Deadline day, always a ton of fun to watch, cover, all of it. So keep an eye on our Instagram as the week goes on, breaking trades and looking at the news around the National Hockey League. So thanks so much for listening. As always, episode 272 of the pod. Boys in the Booth, proud partner of I Play Hockey. Again, thank you. We'll talk to you again next week after the deadline. Cheers.